Former employees say that they received emails saying that their ESOP vesting or rather exercise window has been reduced from 10 years to just 30 days.
Not doing sale, company doing well, us doing well, all of that.
But Gaurav Munjal has always been very cocky and arrogant about this.
He came out with a couple of tweets defeating all the claims that they had got on Twitter saying that they will be acquired.
This is the other side of the Indian startup ecosystem.
I feel the reason for Unacademy to send out this email to everyone is more to do with the legal consequences of how the deal is structured and happening.
Is it fair to say that the company essentially is arm twisting employees to bloat up their valuation?
In a nice way.
Welcome to another edition of the Indian Startup Desktop. Let's go.
Hello.
Hi everyone.
So, over the last few days, a serious conversation has erupted around Unacademy. Former employees say that they received emails saying that their ESOP vesting or rather exercise window has been reduced from 10 years to just 30 days. Essentially meaning that they have to cough up a large amount of their money in taxes even before they know whether these ESOPs are going to be worth something or the other. And this is happening at a time when the company, which was once valued at probably 3.5 odd billion, is now exploring a fire sale, valuing the company at around 400 to 500 odd million. So let's check out the first post that blew up and got this entire conversation going. Got an email from an ex-employer on Unacademy, blah, blah, blah. Gaurav Munjal, this is an awful thing to do. Makes the startup industry look bad. Pawan, have you been following this news? What is your quick hot take on this?
Yes, when this news broke out, one of my first reaction was this is not the only startup that has gone through this, but this is one of the first startups which has come into this much limelight, probably because of the brand that Unacademy had, or probably because of the valuation that they had rose in last few years.
Not just that, like Byju's was probably valued at their peak, multiples of Unacademy, but Gaurav Munjal has always been very cocky and arrogant about this. Like, look at this tweet, right? It's literally just like a year old. I have said this before, I'll say it again. This year will be Unacademy's best in terms of growth in offline business and overall unit economics. We have so many years of runway. We are building Unacademy for the long run. We are not doing any sale or mergers and acquisition. Ignore the rumors.
Irony हो रही है जी बहुत भयंकर.
And this comes right after he came out with a couple of tweets defeating all the acquisition, all the blames that they had got on Twitter saying that they will be acquired. I think so. It came out like a couple of times in last 2 months only.
Yeah.
And he refused all of them.
Saksham, how did you react when you first heard about this?
The first thing when I saw this tweet now again, the first thought was more of a deja vu moment of not doing sale, company doing well, us doing well, all of that.
Yeah.
But no, I think this is extremely shocking, to say the least. Also, for people who don't know, this is sort of the other side of the Indian startup ecosystem and the whole hype, or not the hype around ESOPs and equity.
Yeah, and I think we were also in this golden phase where ESOP and wealth creation stories of, let's say, Meesho and Grow and Pine Labs and a whole bunch of startups have just kind of created this very positive feeling that ESOPs are the path to essentially create long-term wealth for employees. But it's very disheartening to see a lot of stories like this unfold.
I think one of the other problems or other concerns that I also have is either ways, edtech startups in India have not seen good years or good times, at least for as long as I can remember now. And this also, for in whatever context, in some sense, just adds to the misery, right? So I also feel the pain of just the operators in the ecosystem, and that could very well be employees. Doesn't necessarily have to be the founders, right? But it's heartbreaking.
And my point to all the viewers is that it's not that this is a one-off case where a startup is going bust, right? That always happens. Like, the probability of a startup succeeding is way lesser than the probability of a startup failing. But there are a lot of weird patterns in this particular story. So let me actually read out a tweet that dumbs down this entire saga. It does not make sense to pay and exercise the Unacademy ESOPs. I will get the common stock of Unacademy first worth 100 rupees. After the upgrade acquisition, I don't know what would be the value of the upgrade stock I will get, because it is common stock. Liquidation preferences will still apply, and it is quite possible that I end up with 10 rupees upgrade stock. The details of that conversion are unknown. What is known is that I will have to pay 35 rupees in taxes if I exercise 100 rupees stock. If I was guaranteed that I will get 100 rupees of upgrade stock, I would have gladly paid 35. But that is not happening, or at least that is an unknown today. Likely outcome of liquidation preferences set by VCs is 0 to 10 rupees of upgrade stock. This is the economics or the math behind all of this, right? Like even if you do pay taxes, there is no guarantee that the stock that will be transferred to your name will have any value or not. Why? Because that merger and acquisition conversation is still pending or yet to be happen. So why would Unacademy even send the mail to these employees today? Look at this. I wonder why Unacademy is picking the route of voiding ESOP contracts instead of just letting the investment banker doing the acquisition clearly declare the final sale value, deduct preferred shares, and officially mark down the ESOPs to zero. I think for a fire sale, it is lose-lose for the employees. There is no money to be made. Sad, but companies do go bankrupt. Not all startups succeed. But this process of reneging on original ESOP contract, asking to exercise in 30 days, just look bad. And look at Gaurav's reply to this, right? Because in the first option, ESOPs will 100% go to zero. And in the option that we proposed, there is still a chance that some value can be salvaged. Now, this is the crazy part now. Now, Gaurav is not assuring that, hey, if you pay this tax for your ESOPs, we will 100% do whatever it takes to ensure that there is some value that we will create for you. Maybe like in this acquisition offer, maybe the new company says that existing Unacademy employees or ex Unacademy employees are anyway going down to zero. Why are you giving a way for you to collect taxes on like from your employees when you know that there is no silver lining at the end of the tunnel?
But I feel the reason for an academy to send out this email to everyone is more to do with the legal consequences of how the deal is structured and happening. And a large part of the vested ESOP which exists with the past employees being targeted in such a way that they forgive it, and it can go to the upgrades equity
Forfeited.
pool
Yeah.
in a free basis way rather than them diluting it to zero, so that the unacademy value comes to a right valuation rather
Yeah.
than being much lower than the right valuation, because
Yeah.
the exchange
Yeah.
that unacademy founders slash the board is getting in return for selling the assets is an
Mhm.
equity of
Yeah.
upgrade. It's not a cash deal, so a far
Yeah.
lower number will lead to a different kind of consequences for both board as well as the upgrade team. So I think
Yeah.
so they need to maintain a bloated number there. It shouldn't be far lower, neither it can be far higher, but it needs to be win-win for key people there, not the employees included being in the key people there.
Is it fair to say that the company essentially is arm twisting employees to bloat up their valuation?
Maybe.
In a
For
nice way.
sure. It is. No, it is. It is pure, arm twisting as well. Let's actually go and check out more context, right? Unacademies and M&A talks, blah blah blah. Liquidation preference will make ESOPs worthless. Allowing exited employees to exercise ESOPs converts them to common equity, preserves potential upside, if any. Seems
Yeah, it's
like a
very shite.
Look, this seems like a diversion tactic unless the exact deal terms are made public. That will indeed help in exercising stock options. This is my point. Otherwise, the
Yeah.
liquidation preferences will still wipe out everything before it gets to exercised options and will also pump in cash from the employees into the company, sweetening some aspects of the deal for promoters, investors. Pavan, your point. By reducing liabilities and cash balances and cleans up their books from hundreds or thousands of small option holders who will let it expire. If they had really the best of employees at heart, they'd have told everyone about what Munjal said in his email now and let the expiry terms remain as is. Dude, even before all of we go deeper and deeper into this, I want to say a public apology to Ashish from Morning Context. When they were talking very negatively about Unacademy and a bunch of startups, I used to be like, dude, why is startup media so negative? I understand that negative news sells
Didn't
better
we
than
do an episode on that?
we did. So, publicly, I want to apologize for that. There is a lot of merit in how these tech journalists in India actually cover news and talk about, their opinion because they are literally putting themselves, or their reputation on the line. But yeah, I think this is something that, I think all three of us would have probably missed, right?
Also, digressing a bit on this, right? Like, I want to know your thoughts on also just the larger thing that this is leading to, right? Just like the reputation of Indian startups for a lot of up and coming, let's say, college graduates or people who want to either start
Yeah.
something. How does this change, let's say, for first time founders, second time founders, one, hiring people and building that stable sort of organization?
Yeah.
And two, obviously for people who are operators, right? And maybe in some of the industries who unfortunately have seen the hard side of it, right? What do you think this is leading to? Like, how do we correct
Yeah.
that? What is the impact that's leading to?
Yeah, so let me go first, right? I think it's important for everybody to realize that ESOPs, or rather the culture around ESOPs, is an extension of who the founder is. Like when I was working at Razorpay, right? I also knew a lot of people, senior to me, junior to me, etc. We always felt that Razorpay's ESOPs are going to be worth something because the founders, through their actions, through their words, through multiple other gestures, throughout our experience in the company, have always communicated that they want to ensure that wealth creation happens to employees at as well. So there have been at least four buyback incidents that Razorpay has done, and now obviously
Yeah.
they're going IPO over the next couple of months. So I think it is a direct correlation to how your founders think about wealth creation for employees. Pawan, what do you think?
I feel this is the employer side and your personal experience. I feel it will be very hard for people like you, me, working at other companies to trust ESOP as a policy or have a trust on a new company who offers ESOP as a fair part of the compensation, right?
Yeah.
And it was not a lot before, but a few success stories which have happened in recent to little past gave a lot of people confidence that startups are legit. ESOPs do carry
Which is where
value.
we come in, right, Pavan?
Yeah.
Exactly to this point. It's our responsibility to make people aware of the good side of it, having
No,
experienced some of that, maybe, right?
no, forget we coming in, but imagine a plight of a 20-year-old who is joining a startup who has been told the word ESOP for the first time. The background for him might be a couple of instances he might have heard from like a Shark Tank or a
Yeah.
couple of other platforms.
Yeah.
But now that has a negative connotation attached to him in his perception, saying that okay, this have led to a couple of instances of great money for people, but there is also the dark side of it where this might be just a paper money and the founder is offering me this might be also cheating on me, and this
Yeah.
this ESOP might go to zero, or even lead to me being cheated with the taxes that I'm going to pay when it vests, but it later
Yeah.
might not be converting into real money, and have
I'd
that thing in
maybe
his
like to
mind.
rephrase that, right? Just for simplicity, maybe rephrase that as I don't like the idea of it being looked at as purely lottery money. It can't end up building that image. And then obviously, Pavan, everything that you mentioned,
But
right?
our
Like, how do we
government
bring that
charges taxes
credibility?
on ESOPs just like lottery only. The capital
Yes.
gains on
It's
ESOPs are exactly the same how it's charged for gambling. So
Yeah,
governments treat it
it's
as
actually
lottery.
very similar to windfall gains. But that actually is a very interesting topic that we can go in itself, right? Like I know a couple of people who work in US tech companies, but these are probably like public listed companies. So over there it's RSUs and not ESOPs. But what they do instead of asking people to pay 30% tax is that they lock in that tax amount from your whole value of ESOPs that you hold. So technically you are not paying anything. In case something great happens, you are still a win-win scenario.
This is something that should come to India as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Look at this post. Startups are tough, and possibilities of high growth startups failing is fairly common. ESOPs go to zero in most cases. Having said that, ESOPs are the only way to create wealth, but they aren't tax friendly. No taxation on exercising is one reform that has been pending for long. I wrote about it in 2022 and it's still valid. If this is fixed, employees can freely convert options to equity as they vest and won't be subjected to any future ESOP or changes by the company. It makes a whole lot of sense, right? You're protecting employee interest and you're also creating that positive reinforcement within the ecosystem that hey, ESOPs is something that people should care about.
Yeah, I think it also, in some sense, the way I see it, becomes an immunity against a lot of predatory startups and founders, right? Like then
Yeah,
you don't really have to worry about it because sometimes you might just get a little blinded by either the mission or just a salary for that matters that the company is
yeah,
offering, or maybe exciting ESOPs. But then you can focus on doing the right kind of things that work for you, whether it's work, people, culture, etc.,
yeah.
and not worry about getting like fraud, like going through fraud.
Wow.
The
Okay.
interesting part is because there is a void in the market, people like Bajaj Finance have come with a different set of loan for pre-IPO company employees, where they offer
Yeah.
you a loan against shares which are going to be placed in the market like 2 weeks down the line or 4 weeks down the line, and employees have no choice because no one can arrange like a couple of lakhs to tens of lakhs of money just to pay taxes so that they can have the shares vested as purchased before the IPO.
Dude, look at this.
Yeah.
I have tons of projection sheets in my inbox from startup offers over the years. It does captivate you for sure for the first few times. Exhibit below. Seems like I missed a 5 crore exit in average scenario, but this company no longer exists.
Bro, this is also a super pessimistic view, right? Like, this is exactly what I
Don't
want us
want
to try
or
and
don't want
avoid.
people to
Yeah,
feel. Yeah, yeah.
to get into. Yeah, but go on, please.
Yeah, but look at this, right? So this is basically a graph of a founder giving the worst case scenario, the medium case scenario, medium good case, and best case scenario. And the truth is that the worst case scenario is means that this ESOP will be valued at zero, and that's exactly what happened. Now, what is the fine line over here? How can founders communicate the potential upside of ESOPs while also educating people about the downside that hey, there is a good chance that you'll probably pay taxes for these ESOPs and your ESOPs will be worth jack shit.
Bro, don't you think it's as simple as you can tell how the company is doing? If the company is making money, employees will know that they're doing well, so ESOPs will eventually grow.
Dude, but
That the company is
startups,
not making money.
which startup is making money in their first 3, 4, 5
No,
years,
money
dude?
making doesn't necessarily mean profits, right? If I went from, let's say, a minus 50 crores loss to a minus 40 crores loss, I don't know. It's progress, right? It's a step in the right direction.
I don't think with financials, especially for startups, it's as black and white like you're saying.
But I'm saying that's the right leading indicator, right? Like, what else do you rely on? You can't just make an opinion out of just what, like, you can't make an opinion by just worrying about it, right? There have to be some indicators you have to look at to decide
Yeah, yeah,
which
I
is
think
founders, which is the business, which is the product, which is the segment they're serving, all of that.
no fair. It's a combination of all of these factors, like you said. Pawan, what do you think?
I think so. What Saksham raises a point is fair, but as a team who has been through the thick and thin of the startup world, right? I think so. We should put more emphasis on the brighter side and motivate more people to ensure
Yeah.
that there is a brighter end of the tunnel as well.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Look, and this is what you told, right? All three of us, in whatever small way, we've been benefactors of, ESOPs becoming, actual money. And it was crazy when, one day we all opened our demat accounts and we saw that, amount, over there. But it's also crazy because like, what did we do right or wrong to decide to pick one company over another? I'm sure people who joined Unacademy, at let's say 3, 4, 5, 7, 8 years back, also had a very basic approach to figuring out which company to work with, right? So that's where Saksham, even though I agree that people shouldn't look at it like lottery, I don't think the three of us did anything particular to find a company that ultimately resulted in us creating wealth through ESOPs. It was
Luck
still
has
very
a big role to play in
a
life, bro.
huge, a
Luck has
huge
a big
role.
role to play. 100%. Like, I would
Yeah,
never disagree on luck being a real factor.
yeah.
And yeah, you have to do some things right, but yeah, luck plays a huge role. So
Imagine if someone joined as a founding member at Unacademy at their peak, they owned like probably a couple of $1 million worth of ESOP, which have now gone to zero. But the question is, what do you need to get that paper money into your bank account? That is the liquidity event.
Yeah.
And going from the paper money to liquidity event is a huge challenge. Most of the companies who go to a high valuation might not see a event like IPO or acquisition or buyback,
Yeah.
even though that number might be ridiculously high. You can see the other side
yeah,
of the story, which is the same business, which is Physics Wala, which was probably like,
Yeah. 5 mil. 5 mil.
yeah, it went from 0 to 5 billion, but not paper money, real money,
Yeah.
with IPO going also in a great way. And Unacademy had all
not
chances to
5
do that.
billion, right? I mean,
5 mil.
5
Yeah.
billion,
that
yeah,
was not the.
5 billion.
Dude,
And
let's
Unacademy had all
also
chances to do that.
Yeah, let's actually go deeper into this, eLafda, right? Look at this. This ex-employee at, Unacademy, who's, apparently a recruiter, now works for Rippling. What he said, your reputation makes it hard to trust you, Gaurav. You spend company money on Oberoi Suites, private jets, bodyguards, egoistic acquisitions, paid PR campaigns to improve your image. The list is long. In short, you had poor governance of the company and yourself. I've heard this a lot before, by the way. You treated employees awfully, and hence you have nobody batting for you. The axe forgets, but the tree remembers. Investors who
Oof.
gave their capital and employees who broke their back are holding bags, while you and Roman tweet from your villa sitting on fat secondaries in million. I know this is going to cost me in some way in my career knowing how vindictive you are, but on behalf of all frustrated people I hired, I'd like to finally ask, since you quote Harry Potter so very often, do you think you played the protagonist in this story? Mudbloods, dude. And look at Gaurav's reply. Mahesh, I've always respected you and still continue to do so. Even during our exit conversation, I told you you're a genius in what you do. But you must control your impulsive urges when you end up doing random stuff like you did. Don't make it dirty. I got the Oberoi suite for $100 a night in COVID. That's a steal deal, by the way. And it made me more productive. I went and checked like what the prices of an Oberoi suite
Uh,
was Definitely not $100. I maybe traveled 3 or 4 times on a private jet, and I expect one time they were all paid by me personally. So 25% of the time. So everything was declared to the board. There is no reason for personal attacks and stooping so low. I'm still trying to figure out different solutions for the ESOPs of exited employees. My points are about how you ran the company and how you treated employees. This is no personal attack. The only point that was personal is your personal gain. Shouldn't we question that? And at no point did I use the kind of language you've used with us. Sorry if this hurts you. Damn, man. Isn't this an insane story? Like, I empathize with Gaurav, but I empathize way more with the employees who've given their, blood, sweat, and tears to essentially making Unacademy what it is. But at the end of this day, the founder wins and employees go back empty-handed.
That's actually the risk versus reward theory, right? I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure Gaurav had way more risks on his stakes than any of the employees there.
It's always easy being on the other side, and
Yeah.
I mean, I understand both sides.
Yeah.
Being a founder, going through this mess, getting all of that hate. I mean, I don't know, man. It's tough. Like
Dude,
nothing is easy. Both sides are tough, but it
dude,
just
dude, but
I'm sitting with the popcorn and eating it. I think.
Dude, but like, what could ever be the need for a founder of an edtech company that's clearly not made money to even travel in a private jet for apparently work, right?
Only when the company goes bad, you start looking at some of these things, right?
Yeah.
If things were going well, it's not like he did this. He traveled on a private jet a week before doing this to meet the investors to get acquired at one for the current valuation, right? For example.
Sure.
When the company is doing well, he's raised a new round, he's taken the company valuation twice, let's say a year back, 2 years back.
Yeah.
Why shouldn't he travel in a jet if he can? He's worked so hard to get the company to that point.
I feel just these things are pulled more than they are necessary just because there is nothing
Yeah, yeah,
else to be
yeah.
pulled. That's it. It's his personal money. He can do anything with it. He can put the stack of cash on fire. That's not the main thing. But I think so the former point makes it more awful. The way, I don't know what exactly he means there. He has not elaborated on those. The way you ran your company, way you disrespected the employees and all.
Yeah.
Those things make it more impactful than the latter.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. No, I've heard from several ex-employees of Unacademy that this guy was extremely brash. He was so cocky, but he also gave them the feeling that, dude, I know this is the right way, and I understand that you guys find me tough, find this way of working with me tough. But trust me, we are going to, come out with flying colors at the end. And now look what happened, right? People took their shit and they didn't get shit also.
So was Steve Jobs. Everyone who has worked with him says that he was a brash guy. He never
Yeah.
respected anyone. He didn't respect status quo, so on and so forth. But now we look at those things and feel that, oh, Apple is such a great company because Steve Jobs was brash, probably. Now,
Yeah.
just because Unacademy is a failure, we can't say those things are bad or it's someone who did mistake. Looking at the consequences and saying the things that happened in past were wrong or right is the most insane wrong
Yeah.
thing that either of us can
Yeah.
do here.
No, I agree. I agree.
Yeah. So I think on this note, should we end the episode and maybe let our viewers talk in the comments of what they feel is right or not?
Yeah, folks, we know startup ESOPs have been getting a lot of shit, but from people who've benefited a little bit from startup ESOPs.
And one of us is going to benefit from one more in a couple of months.
But yeah, ESOPs is not nothing. It's still very important. And yeah, just evaluate the founders just as harshly as they evaluate you for any role. But yeah, that's it from this week's edition of the Indian Startup Test Off. See you all next week. Bye bye.
Bye bye.